Black Bear, available online now. New film starring Aubrey Plaza, Christopher Abbott, and Sarah Gadon. It's a very weird indie film which starts off with a simple premise but takes a massive turn at one point and becomes something entirely else. The basic setup is this. Aubrey Plaza plays Allison, an actress turned director who's hit a writer's block, basically. She arrives at this secluded cabin by the lake where a young couple lives, Gabe and Blair. They're friends of a friend and they're taking care of the place, which belonged to Gabe's mother. And their idea is to basically invite and host various creative people, which could help those people with their work and make the couple some money on the side. It is immediately obvious that this isn't necessarily a happy couple. They argue nonstop with this really passive aggressive tone. Some couples bicker all the time, but you can see that it's playful and full of love. That's not what happens here. It is also immediately obvious that there is a connection, a spark of chemistry between Allison and Gabe. So we watch the three characters interact, have discussions and arguments, and things very quickly boil to a heat. And the story kind of goes with this idea until it doesn't. Until just about halfway through the film, it suddenly pivots and turns into something completely different. And we as the audience are offered no real explanation as to what's going on, so we have to piece the film together. Now, I know I'm being very vague, but I really like to avoid spoilers. What I can talk about are the general themes. On the surface, both parts of the story deal with relationships, specifically unhappy relationships, and infidelity. Examines cheating as this escape mechanism from the trap of being with someone clearly wrong for you. Now, admittedly, this isn't done in an apologetic way. It's always very clear that the cheating characters are assholes. But this is the surface level. Because beneath that, what I think the film is really about is the creative process. It's playing with various ideas and scenarios in your head, figuring out what story you want to tell, and finally telling it. It's a really interesting outlook, or rather, just look into the mind of an artist as they're in the middle of creating. And then we also sort of go back again because at one point this layer that I'm talking about also becomes the surface layer for a time. There is a moment in the film where we find ourselves on a film set, and it's probably the most realistic depiction of a movie production that I've seen. It matches the descriptions that of real sets that I've read about, but crucially, it manages to feel very real and lifelike by bringing out the various crew members to the spotlight. Suddenly, the makeup artist and the costumer and the assistant and the cinematographer are not just background characters, they're real people. I felt like that was a great touch and also an interesting peek behind the curtain of filmmaking itself. But going back to Blackbird, the film itself, I think it's very cerebral and unobvious. I can see elements of David Lynch's Mulholland Drive in the film, not the least because of the two-act structure with very distinct differences. I also feel like it owes a fair bit to the writing of Charlie Kaufman, movies such as Adaptations, Synecdoche in New York, and to an extent also his latest, in my opinion, his weakest film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's not the easiest movie to digest, Black Bear, and it also doesn't really offer a direct final explanation. My interpretation of it is by no means a fact. I just think that the movie is about all those things that I talked about because that's the way I interpret it. And also because of the final scene of the film, which I thought was probably its best part. As a result, I can see a lot of people being turned off by the film because it's not a straightforward story, and as such, if you don't focus on finding the meaning in it, it may seem disjointed and all over the place. I didn't think it was all that. I found something interesting in it, especially from the perspective of someone who also doubles in the creative process and storytelling. I think it's a pretty good movie and certainly one of the more unique ones this year.